job? Did you get out of the elements today, or were you out there?
Yeah, it was pretty cozy and toasty warm, actually. The house has
It's an understatement.
Leave it somewhere?
heated bathroom floor. It's kind of nice.
Well, this has become pretty popular.
Had around in there my sock feet.
Hey, there you go.
Really felt nice. Feels really good when you sit at about 77.
Is it a pad you put underneath the floor?
It's you lay the heating elements in the thin set,
Yeah.
where you put the tile down, so it's actually a sandwich between the subfloor and the tile.
Oh, okay.
It's just electric.
Is it
Heating
like
element.
is it like a mat, or is it a cord that you?
Well, there's several different ways. There's mats that you just lay down, interconnect, or there's wires that you can string, elements that you can just string, staple in place.
Isn't that something? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, to do a good size, like a big master bathroom, it costs about $2,000. It's not an insignificant cost. They are nice on a chilly morning.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Probably forget to paint after about 6 months.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, this feels good. It was worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it. Did you read the minutes? Are they okay? I didn't get a chance to read them.
For the beer
We're
board?
going to the,
No, for
the
the-
meeting.
Yes.
Oh, the regular meeting? Yeah, they look good.
You know,
I didn't see
for
anything
2
on.
years, and I've served about 2 years now. Yeah, look, I talked to Ron, I said, we ought to put all 5 together over there tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, I don't know where to go, so I'm
Well, it's at
looking
the
to go.
Maryville Town Hall.
Allison, you ready?
I will. You're going
right.
to Maryville, aren't you?
Okay, I'm going to call to order the January 8th, 2015 Farragut Beer Board.
Not a minute too soon.
We just have 2 agenda items tonight. The first one being the approval of the minutes from the December 11th, 2014 meeting. Are there any comments, questions, or changes? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. The one agenda item is a beer permit approval. It's approval of a Class 5 off-premise permit for the following Walgreens stores due to a change in ownership. The Walgreens store number 7760 at 11927 Kingston Pike. Walgreens store 5053, 601 North Campbell Station Road. And Walgreens store 3955, 10701 Kingston Pike.
And everything is in order. And the applicant is here tonight if there's any questions. And all this is just a change of ownership from the Walgreens company to, as soon as I said that, I lost it, to the Walgreens Boots Alliance, Inc. So it's just all the stores remain the same, just a change of ownership.
Anybody have any comments or questions for the applicant? Is there a motion?
Make a move to approve
I'll
the
sec-
permit.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, beer permit is approved. Thank you. And that will bring to close the January 2015 Farragut Beer Board.
Amen.
And that means it's now time for the Farragut Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting of January 8th. This is our first meeting of this year, and we want to wish you a Happy New Year. We'll start by rising for a moment of silent prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Next item is approval of the agenda. Any comments, or shall we approve it?
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next item is the mayor's report, and I'm happy to report that as of next week, this town of Farragut is 35 years old. Some people said it wouldn't last, but I think 35 years is a pretty good track record. Somebody asked me, what's it going to look like in the next 35 years? And I don't know. But if we continue to grow, then we'll be pretty full by that time. Sue, did you want to say anything? No? If you haven't gotten a piece of cake, that's what we're celebrating tonight. I guess there's still some back there, right?
There is, yeah.
So help yourself. Next item is the Citizens Forum. Anybody?
We have no one signed up.
All right, so we go to ordinances, and there's a bunch of them. First one is on second reading.
Actually, Mayor, we have the minutes.
Oh, the minutes. Okay, you know I can't hear, and now I can't see. So
I'll move for approval of the minutes as written.
Second.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So now to ordinances. This one is a second reading. Ordinance 14-19, ordinance to amend the Town of Farragut Municipal Code Title 16, Streets and Sidewalks by adding Chapter 6, Everett Road Corridor Improvement Fee.
Thank you,
Any
Mayor.
discussion?
I'm sorry, were you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
This ordinance will require an improvement fee for development on Everett Road between Kingston Pike and Split Rail Farm. Formula is based on a number of lots, trips per day onto Everett Road, and the total cost to reconstruct or improve Everett Road from Split Rail Farm to Smith Road. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about the ordinance.
No changes from the first reading?
Oh, sir.
I'd like to move for approval.
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now we go to first readings on several ordinances. First one is 14-21, an ordinance to amend the text of Farragut zoning ordinance 86-16 as amended pursuant to authority granted by Section 13-4-201 Tennessee Code annotated by amending Chapter 3 specific district regulations, Section 12, General Commercial District C1, by adding new requirements related to mixed-use town center district as outlined in the Farragut Comprehensive Land Use Plan. Any
Okay.
discussion on this?
Could we talk a little bit about exactly what the new requirements are?
Sure, yeah. Just to give you a little bit of background, all these 5 ordinances are really interrelated, and what we're trying to do with all of these is to move toward realizing a long-standing objective of the town that's been expressed to us at numerous public meetings and in a number of our plans that we've adopted, and that is trying to bring about a downtown for Farragut. The previous land use plan had language in there about the desire for having a downtown, and then when the comprehensive plan was updated in 2012, the most important strategy that was identified by the public was to try to work on implementing strategy 1, which is bringing about a downtown. So while we are working on this is to try to establish Farragut with a sense of place and identity, kind of a core area that's unique and timeless, that people can reference as I'm in downtown Farragut. It's something that would help build a sense of community and cohesion that could also help promote the history of the area and the town. Some things that we have in place currently in this regard: we do have a town center zoning district and design requirements related to that. We do not have any properties currently that are zoned town center district. And then of course we have the comprehensive plan, which talks about bringing about a downtown, and it also has within it a designation on the future land use map of an area called the Mixed Use Town Center. And that was identified by the public and everyone that was involved in the update as a desired or preferred location for the development of a downtown for Farragut. Currently, this area has both developed and undeveloped tracts. It's predominantly Zone C1. This is some language from the comprehensive plan. This is the section that talks about bringing about a downtown, and we'll show some of the other stuff here in a minute. But so the real question became, and we started working on this back actually in August. We've been trying to implement different aspects of the comprehensive plan since it was adopted in 2012. We initiated the discussion on trying to implement Strategy 1 back in August 13th. We had a joint meeting of the Board and Planning Commission. We looked at different options that could be considered, and what was expressed at those meetings, the subsequent Planning Commission meeting as well, was that the staff should work on trying to establish some provisions in the existing zoning districts where the mixed-use town center area is shown, so that we could help steer new developments and redevelopments to a plan of development that would be consistent with appearance and function of a downtown. And that's largely what we tried to do in Ordinance 14-21. We spent 4 Planning Commission meetings developing Ordinance 14-21. Again, we focused on the C1 zoning district initially because it's the most common zoning district where the mixed-use town center is identified. And so we began by adding a new section in the C1 zoning district that would be applied to those properties in the mixed-use town center, and we established some clear statements on why we have this additional section. What are we trying to accomplish, so that we can provide some justification for why we have these additional provisions for these properties. We looked at uses that are currently permitted in C1. We looked at uses that are permitted in town center district, in the business district, 4-story, and what other communities were doing, and tried to, working with the Planning Commission and the public to figure out which uses would be, consistent and appropriate for the development of a downtown over time. So in Ordinance 14-21, we have, specific uses for those properties in mixed-use town center, and most of the uses that are permitted in C1 would be permitted in these areas. And in fact, one use that is not currently permitted in the rest of the C1 zoning district would be permitted in the mixed-use town center, and that's residential on non-ground floors, because again, what we're trying to encourage would be a kind of a mixed-use, pedestrian-oriented type of plan of development. So there's some things in the ordinance that are more expansive than are currently provided in C1. We looked at the appearance of the buildings in this area. We want to again promote something that is unique, that is timeless, that can alert you to the fact that you're entering an area that's different from the rest of the town. You're entering the town's downtown. So we focused on trying to ensure that when buildings are built, and this would be just new buildings and substantial redevelopments, that they have a significant masonry component, that they have a timeless value, that they are at least 2-story, and those kinds of things. We looked at the site, how you lay out buildings, trying to promote more flexibility, to encourage buildings to be placed closer to the roadway like you would see in a traditional downtown, and encourage the parking to be on the sides and in the rear, so that the focus is on you know, an attractive masonry building rather than a large parking lot along the roadway. And we looked at other elements of the site. How can, you know, we looked at what makes downtown successful. They have to have a lot of pedestrian traffic. They have to have a lot of things that would draw people to the area. So we focused some language in there about encouraging outdoor gathering places, outdoor dining, you know, just making it very inviting, particularly to pedestrians. And so that's some things that we dealt with. We do maintain the setbacks and buffer strips for properties that are zoned residential that might abut the mixed-use town center. So those would remain in place. In the mixed-use town center, we do have a slightly higher lot coverage than would be allowed in regular C1. That is basically the percent of the lot that can be something other than grass. So that's another, you know, more flexible aspect of this language than would be permitted in regular C1. And then the height, we provide for increased height in this mixed-use town center area because it, you know, promotes that downtown look and a more efficient use of land. So those are some of the, you know, the things that we have in there. Parking, you know, we looked at parking and trying to base it on, you know, mixed-use buildings. We looked at the current provisions in the town center district and applied those to a mixed-use building, and then, you know, have some provisions in there that encourage shared parking. We looked at lighting and the appearance of lighting. We want to, again, identify this area as something unique and special, so we're encouraging decorative fixtures, you know, decorative parking lot lights, things that, you know, alert you to the fact that you're in, you know, a different area than the rest of the town. And that's basically what we tried to do in Ordinance 14-21. And there's a lot more stuff in there, but that's just kind of a quick summary. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those.
Yeah, Mark, I have a question about,
Okay.
It says, building facade requirements that would ensure new buildings or redeveloped buildings would have a timeless appearance with significant masonry element. How do we define that? I mean, is there, now I look back in here, in the actual ordinance, paragraph 3, it says building facade requirements. Street facing building facade does not have storefront, must provide windows or some other type of architectural feature. I mean, and then it refers to section 14.305 of Title 14, Chapter 3. Is that, do we have anything in there with any muscle in it?
Yeah, and that's for new buildings, that the upper section. That actually requires 75% face brick on all exterior elevations. That's the design guidelines in the municipal code that were created when the town center district was established. We spent a lot of time, you know, developing those and looking at what we wanted to encourage and what could become a downtown. So for new buildings, they would be looking at meeting that 75% face brick.
So that's in 14.305?
Yes.
Okay, so it's in there.
And having a cornice on the roof so that the
Right.
roof just
Flush
doesn't go up to
fascia
the
or
sky. Yeah. So just some things like that. We do have more flexibility for if someone were redeveloping an existing building. So if it's, you know, not a new building, but they are substantially renovating an existing building, that we did not feel that it would be appropriate to require them to, first of all, you can't apply face brick to an existing building, you know, but we could encourage, you know, some kind of masonry application that would, you know, not be inconsistent with what we're trying to encourage in terms of the building appearance. So we do have some language in there that differentiates between new buildings versus redeveloped.
Okay, and then I see in the synopsis here before we on the back side of page 1, item 3 in the about the middle of it, it says clarifying that buildings must at least have the appearance of a 2-story building. Now, I just got to tell you, I ride past the corner of Grigsby Chapel and Campbell Station all the time, the Mellow Mushroom Center there. Beautiful center. Sam Mishu, I think, and
Yes.
those guys did that. Great looking. Now look at that second story up there, little windows with curtains in it. And I know that's a Hollywood prop. There's nothing up there. It's
Yeah.
just steel studs and everything. It just seems to me such an incredible waste. You went to all that trouble, all expense, and there's nothing up there anybody can use. So is that what we're encouraging here? Or?
No, it's not what we're encouraging. I would like to see a functional second or non-ground floor. This came out from discussions with the Planning Commission. To try to lessen the cost if someone because when you start going more than one story, you could oftentimes get into the requirement for an elevator and that kind of stuff. But to try to provide for some flexibility that would, you'd end up with a building that looks, consistent with what we're trying to promote, but functionally and I agree with you, I would like to see it, be used as a true mixed-use building, because that's really what we're trying to, I think, promote in this area is to actually, increase that residential density, because that's going to be important for whatever's on the ground floor. You can't just have people that drive here to those uses and expect them to succeed.
Have a live-work situation.
You've got to get people living near that area because, again, it's a pedestrian-oriented type of development. So we're going to have to really work on trying to encourage residential in this area and in the area just outside of it to get those, that density up to where people can walk to those businesses and help support them.
Well, and I can offer, after being on the Planning Commission, the intent of that wording is really to be the exception, not the rule.
Yes.
The intent is for us to have true 2 stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with you with that. Hopefully we'll have true mixed-use buildings when this occurs. The Planning Commission did recommend unanimously in November to approve the ordinance 1421. And again, we've spent quite a bit of time going through it and tweaking it and adjusting it. So, does anybody else have any questions?
I'd like to move for approval.
Well, I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next one then is ordinance 14-22, an ordinance to adopt the area and text identified as mixed-use town center as shown on the future land use map in the Farragut Comprehensive Land Use Plan.
What this ordinance is doing is, in the previous ordinance that you all voted on, there's language in there that references the mixed-use town center. And what we're trying to do in this ordinance is actually adopt the text from the comprehensive plan and the map by ordinance, because those things are referenced now in our zoning ordinance. So we got to tie those provisions to text and a map, that's in our comprehensive plan. So that's really what we're trying to do through this ordinance. We take the mixed-use town center area that is shown there on the screen. It's basically that purple area. That's the map portion that we're requesting to be adopted as part of this ordinance. And then the text is a couple of pages in the document that talks about the mixed-use town center. What's the intent of it? What are some of the uses that would be typical to that? the character, what we're trying to do there. By adopting this by ordinance, we're not only, tying the language that we have in the C1 now to a map and text, but we're also creating a situation where future land use decisions involving the mixed-use town center are, you all have a lot more involvement with those. They would, they would have to be consistent with the comprehensive plan unless the comprehensive plan were amended. So when we originally were approving the comprehensive plan, it was updated in 2012. It was approved by resolution by the Planning Commission. It was not approved by ordinance by the board because we wanted to provide some flexibility and make any amendments not as burdensome should those need to occur. But what we're trying to do by adopting this particular aspect of the plan is to promote what has been identified as the most important strategy in that plan. So that's why we're just signaling out this one aspect of the plan to adopt it. And that's what Ordinance 14-22 does. Anybody have any questions on that?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is ordinance 14-23, an ordinance to amend the text of the Farragut zoning ordinance, ordinance 86-16, as amended pursuant to authority granted by section 13-4-201 Tennessee Code annotated by amending chapter 3 specific district regulations sections, section 27, number 6, Town Center District, area regulations, land area, to change minimum land for development.
Okay, what this ordinance is doing, when we were talking through the mixed-use town center with the Planning Commission, one of the things that we noticed was in the current town center district that we have in our zoning ordinance, there's a minimum 15-acre lot size for a rezoning to that district. And that was originally created because it was largely targeted toward a development that was envisioned back in 2007 that was a relatively large tract, and the ordinance was kind of crafted after that. It's really originally designed for the development on a rather large vacant tract. What we wanted to try to encourage in this ordinance is to expand opportunities for individuals to try to rezone to the town center district, because there are a lot of parcels in that mixed-use town center area that's identified in the plan that are smaller than 15 acres, but they would be a good candidate for a rezoning to town center as part of either the development of the tract or an incremental development of that tract and other adjacent tracts. So this ordinance really just takes that 15-acre minimum lot size out, and it goes back to the standard 1-acre lot size in C1. You would need obviously more than an acre to develop under the town center district just because of the way the language is in there, but at least it does give more flexibility should someone want to rezone their property to town center district. And that's essentially what we're doing in 14-23. Does anybody have any questions with that?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next one is ordinance 14-24 on first reading to amend the text of the Farragut zoning ordinance chapter 3 section 23 telecommunication tower overlay zone to limit the overlay in the mixed-use town center area outlined in the comprehensive land use plan.
What this ordinance is doing, when we created ordinance 14-21 that provided those additional provisions in the C1 zoning district, from discussions with the Planning Commission, it was felt that, new telecommunication towers would be, inappropriate uses in trying to develop a downtown area. So those were specifically not permitted in that C1 ordinance amendment. And what this ordinance does is just expand that to all properties that are in the mixed-use town center. There's currently 3 different zoning districts encompassed in the mixed-use town center. Most of them are C1. Some is planned commercial development, and then we have a small area that's office. So what this would do is it would be expanding that inability to rezone to the tower overlay to all of the properties in the mixed-use town center. So that's kind of a summary of what's in ordinance 14-24. Does anybody have any questions on that?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And number 5 is ordinance 14-25 on first reading to amend the text of the Farragut zoning ordinance, chapter 3, section 26, planned commercial development district, PCD, as it relates to mixed-use town center area outlined in the comprehensive land use plan.
This ordinance basically takes that section that we established in C1 for the mixed-use town center properties and applies that section to properties that are zoned planned commercial development, so that there's consistency between those 2 different commercial zoning districts. So that's really all that this particular amendment does. So basically, if you have a planned commercial development property, then you would also have to adhere to those provisions that are in ordinance 14-21 that apply to C1. Anybody have any questions on that?
I'll move for approval.
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving now to business items. First one is approval of public recreation license agreement with TVA. Sue.
Hey, in 1984, the town of Farragut entered into a 30-year easement agreement for a section of what is now known as Anchor Park for the development of public recreation. And this parcel is about 5.5 acres and includes the pond and playground and the picnic shelter areas. It does not include the playing field areas. That easement expired earlier in 2014, and TVA is now asking the town of Farragut to establish an ongoing commercial and public recreation license agreement for the continued use of the property. And this agreement has an application fee of $1,500, which is used by TVA to offset their administration costs. So this basically just gives us an agreement to keep using it just as we have been using it. And so staff is recommending approval.
Is this another 30 years?
No, this is a continuing use agreement. It has a 30-day back-out clause from either the town or TVA. We can ask for another 30-year easement. We will have to have this agreement in place anyway, because the 30-year easement process will take a long time and will cost quite a bit more. The TVA is actually recommending that we go this route, and then if we find that we need an easement for some reason down the road, we can go that route. But this is, there's no reason to think that TVA would not continue to have this as public recreation.
So we're not going to have a lease?
No, it's a continuing agreement, which is what I guess what they're doing with a lot of their property owners on this, in this area.
So the lease that we have been operating under, did it entail any payments to TVA or anything?
I honestly don't know. No, we don't have any records from that time. It was a long time, in 1984, and there's nothing in the town hall about it, except for a copy that TVA sent us of the lease, and we don't even have a town signature on it, so I'm actually not sure about it.
But we haven't been paying a yearly.
No, we do not pay for an agreement or a lease. I don't know if we paid a fee at the beginning. This continuing land use agreement fee is a one-time fee to get the administrative cost on this. If we decide we want to look forward to a easement, and it does have a 30-year extension after the first 30 years, but it starts at a cost of $9,000 and moves forward from there. That's just to get it started. There are a lot of public hearings and a lot of processes now that you have to go through that you didn't 30 years ago with TVA.
I like this route better.
But, TVA is a very huge proponent of public recreation, and there's not an awful lot that could be done on this land because it's in the 840 zone. So, it's very doubtful, and even the TVA person that I've been working with is saying, this is a good way to move forward on this.
I'll move for approval.
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Next item is approval of Resolution R-2015-01, appointment of Farragut Municipal Judge.
Yes, sir. Lucinda Troyer is currently our municipal judge, and she has agreed to serve another term, and no other applicants have applied. So the motion is to approve Resolution R 2015-01, the appointment of Town of Farragut Municipal Judge to Lucinda Troyer.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And last business item is approval of architectural design services for the Campbell Station Inn.
Yeah, what's this all about?
I'll try to explain. Thanks, Mayor. To give a little brief history about this process, in the summer of 2014, this past summer, we issued a request for qualifications for architectural design services for the reconstruction and reuse of the Campbell Station Inn located at Campbell Station Road and Kingston Pike. I think everybody's familiar with the house. The town subsequently received 4 proposals, and the evaluation team unanimously identified Brewer Ingram Fuller as the most qualified firm for this project. We subsequently began negotiations with Brewer Ingram Fuller, and during those meetings, we decided it would be best to break this process up into 2 phases, 2 distinct phases with 2 separate agreements for services. The first agreement, which you have before you tonight, is an hourly service contract to get through the planning phase and the usage study phase. The agreement number 2, which will result from this agreement, will be a lump sum contract to get through the design phase for renovation and reuse. Again, you have agreement 1 before you tonight. Allison, if you can go to the scope of work, which should be the scope of work for this agreement includes pre-designed services to create a master plan for the Campbell Station Inn, a big picture, and kind of subsets to assist the town staff in facilitating the steering committee and the planning process, site research and analysis, structural review and analysis, system inventory, environmental review, and assist the town staff and the steering committee in developing a reconstruction scope of work for Phase 2. This contract with Brewer Ingram Fuller will provide services. Brewer Ingram Fuller will provide services on an hourly basis, and this contract has a total not to exceed $35,000. I'd be happy to answer any questions on the process. Town attorney's reviewed the contract, is in agreement with it, and Mr. Lee Ingram from Brewer Ingram Fuller is here to answer any questions about the company itself.
Gary, just out of curiosity, do you have just a time frame that you think this will take? I know it wouldn't be exact, just kind of an estimate. Is this a 3-month deal, 6 months?
For this phase, I can't see this taking more than probably 6 months, 6 to 9 months. Does that sound about right?
I'd say 6 months, would be a good number, somewhere around there.
Okay, thank you. I'll move for approval.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Town administrators report.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things tonight. First is the town has always had excellent fiscal management ever since it was founded 35 years ago next week, as we celebrated a little while ago. One of the things that when I first got here 5 years ago is when I was looking through the budget was trying to determine, what all the numbers mean. A lot of times you can see all the numbers on a page, but they don't really tell you a story. And so one of the first things that I had talked to our town recorder, Allison Myers, about was trying to get our budget to a position where we could really feel like it's a real policy document. It's something that the whole entire town could understand easily and read. And so what we've been working on is trying to incrementally get the budget to a place where we feel very confident in it as a document that is something that anybody could pick off a shelf. You could read about the administration, you could read about the CIP, you could read about each of the departments and all the work and effort that they do, and really understand not only what we're doing this year, but where we're thinking about heading in the future. And so it all starts with the planning process and really with the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And y'all have done an excellent job of giving us our 5-year scope of work and our yearly scope of work to do. We work off of that and we prioritize that, and that's what goes in our budget is our main priorities for the year. That way we know exactly where our money's going and where we're heading. The departments play a huge role in that. Each of them get together with us. We start the planning process actually here in probably just a couple of weeks. We'll be working on budget for the next 4 or 5 months, getting ready for that June date when we actually get it to the board for approval. But the departments do a great job of fiscal management. They spend their money wisely. They don't overdo it in any particular line items. They also do a great job of finding the work program items that they need to get accomplished that year to reach our 5-year goals. And they also do a great job of measuring their performance, which is also something that's in the budget now. You can actually go in there and see the performance that each department is doing each and every year. So as we've gotten through this process, we actually have to put all that information together, and all that's really fallen on the head and shoulders of Allison Myers. She's done an excellent job of putting our budget together. And so this year we decided for the first time to actually apply for the Distinguished Budget and Presentation Award from the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association. And we were able to get that award just a couple of weeks ago, which is the highest honor you can get in municipal government for municipal finance and budget. The budget award actually assesses you on how well your budget reflects as a policy document, as a financial plan, as an operations guide, and as a communications device. And we had to be rated proficient in all 4 of those categories, and also had to meet the criteria for 14 different areas within those 4 categories, which we were able to do. In 2013, they don't have 14 numbers out yet because they just started giving out these awards. But in 2013, there were 1,424 awards given throughout the country. That's out of 90,000 local governments across the country. So that's less than 2% of cities out there and counties, states, special school districts, whoever it may be, actually receive this award. And in Tennessee, there's only 20 governments across the state that receive this award. So I think it's a great honor. It's a great thing for the town to have. It's the first award that we've gotten, and I'd like to present it to Allison for all the hard work that she's done.
Absolutely. You know how proud we are of you.
You know Pam's photobombing you in the back.
First time, too.
Yeah, great.
She's a huge part of why we have this as well, so.
Who is?
Pam.
Oh, yes.
Gary said she was
absolutely.
photobombing us from the window. So, I should have had her come out here too.
We've gotten the CAFR award many years in a row, but most people can't understand that unless you're an accountant. The budget you can understand, hopefully, with all the things we have in there, so that's great. The second thing I wanted to mention tonight, Mayor and Board, is that your very own Gary Palmer also received a very great award. he was able to pass
Did?
the AICP. If you don't know what AICP is, it's the highest designation you can get for the American Institute of Certified Planners. We only have one on staff. That was Mark Shipley. Now we have two. And just like to give kudos to Gary for the great job he's done in there. And that's all I have to report.
And as long as you're talking about budgets, why don't you tell this group of people what you told me the other day about the excess money we're getting over the budget?
For sales tax this year, or well, I think we've gotten through the first 4 months of this year. We're up about 11% over last year.
But for last fiscal year.
Oh, for last fiscal year,
From the audit,
I think we were 1 million.
like 1.1.
1.1. Our sales tax revenues for last fiscal year, which would have been FY14, with the audit and everything else that we looked at, were about 1.1 million over and above what we had budgeted for in the year. So we had a very successful year, a lot of great shopping going on in town, and we hope that continues for a long time to come.
It makes a difference.
It does, certainly.
So keep it up. Town attorney's report.
You'll be happy to know I have no report tonight.
And on that note, we are adjourned. Happy New